It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this week's episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
And Les Webster.
Welcome to our 3D ears.
He's been waiting all night to say that.
He's been saving that one for probably a couple of days now.
No, we were talking John Candy before.
Oh.
And on SCTV, they would do a 3D movie, and all they would do is hold an object and then swing it toward the camera and back and forth, and say it's being done in 3D. So this is 3D for the ears.
That's actually disturbingly fitting. Because there's three of us, get it?
Hey.
Ah! Oh, wow.
So how's everybody doing? I guess we're doing okay.
I don't know if I can top that. Jeez.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I'll try. Well, I'll at least tell everybody what I'm doing.
Okay.
And this may be a bit of foreshadowing, but I'm going to do it anyway. The thing that has been attracting my attention lately has been the Olympics.
Woohoo!
And for one, I kind of like watching some of the stuff on the Olympics. Not having cable makes it difficult, to say the least, because all I have is NBC, and so I get to watch what they tell me to watch. I suppose I could get online and stream stuff, and I probably will at some point. But actually, the fun part this time is that my son, being 9 years old, is actually getting into it too. And so this is the first time that he's even cared. And so it's been kind of fun at watching him watch it and kind of get a feel for it. It's kind of neat.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. Les, what's been going on in your part of the universe?
I have kind of stayed away from the Olympics, but I'm waiting for some of the later, the track and field and the baseball, things like that, and especially my Olympic passion, and that's watching the wrestling.
Oh, I thought you were going to say underwater basket weaving.
That is number 3 on the list.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I will grant you that the early stuff, I mean, the swimming is cool. I get a little burned out on the gymnastics, and that's a lot of what they do up front. And so,
right.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm ready for the weekend, so we can get past all this gymnastics stuff.
They finished the majority of the rifle portion of it quickly.
Oh yeah, the first medal event was one of the shooting events.
Yes, the 10-meter air rifle.
Which we won.
Yes, the young lady actually outscored everyone, and I'm not saying that as a surprise. It's just that quickly we booked our first gold.
Yep. Day one.
Yeah. I've been catching a little bit of the Olympics too. Something I kind of hit on by accident. I don't know how many people out there in our audience are aware of this. From our previous episodes, I have mentioned that I have been watching a lot of stuff on Twitch.tv. Some of the gamers streaming their games or so. I stumbled on, and after I did some little research, I found out that this actually kind of made a little news. I just didn't hear about it. But apparently, starting at 11 p.m. Sunday night, and that's Central Time, through midnight Monday night. It was a Monday to Tuesday night, and as I said, this is all Central Time. There is one channel that streams a marathon of Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting.
Oh, wow.
And they do like a complete season. And I did a little research on this because like I said, I kind of found out by accident. I kind of watched it for a while because this blows my mind that this guy can do this. And for those who, I'm sure most of our audience is familiar, but if you're not, Bob Ross was an artist who had a show on PBS where in a 30-minute time span, and it was really not even 30 minutes, he would basically do an oil painting and just kind of show you how he does it, and if you have the tool, you have the paint and all that, you could go along with him and all that. But he had passed away of lymphoma. Oh, it's back in '95, so he's been gone for 21 years now. But apparently, last fall on his birthday, the estate, I guess it was the estate, Bob Ross Inc., decided to just do a marathon in kind of honor of his birthday. Well, it attracted so many viewers that they decided, well, hey, let's just do this once a week. We'll just go in almost an entire day, and we'll show a season of the episodes. And I think it's really cool. And also from my research, I found out that, and guys, I don't know how much you know about this, but he does 3 paintings. He would do one before they start filming, and then it's off to the side, and he'll use that as a guide. And then they would film him doing the second painting, and then after they finished filming, he would do a third one, but he did it slow enough so someone can come in and take pictures so they can put it together for an art book. So he did the painting essentially 3 times in, however,
In one sitting.
in one sitting.
Wow. I
Yeah.
did not know that. I actually had kind of seen the resurgence online and had no idea what sparked it. So I learned something today.
Woohoo! Happy to help out.
Woo.
That is different.
It is, but in addition to watching him do this, which is pretty impressive, is actually kind of keeping one eye over on the chat and some of the comments that are being made. Some of them are not funny. Some of them had me rolling on the floor laughing. For one instance, when Bob would clean a brush, he would dip it, and then he would kind of shake it. He would beat the bristles on the easel legs, and he talks about him beating the devil out of it. Well, every time he did it, you would see 5 or 6 comments going "Rip Devil," and then someone keeping score saying Bob 8, Devil 0, that kind of thing. It just
Okay.
it's just some of the jokes were really, really funny, and the fact that you thinking, some of this kind of really being off the top of your head and stuff, but some of them were stupid. But hey, that's just like anything.
Yeah, that's what happens when you turn something loose on the general public.
Yeah.
You get good jokes, you get bad jokes. It's cool.
But it was very entertaining. I mean, it was fun because I actually watched it for a good couple 2 or 3 hours. Because, I mean, the programs are essentially 20 something minutes. I mean, they're not even showing the opening credits. It's him introduce, hey, this is what we're going to do today, and it's 20 minutes of that, and then you get the ending credits, and then the next episode starts. Because obviously, you don't get the PBS commercials in between. So you can do 2 or 3 of them pretty quick. It was fun. It was fun. So, guys, I'd suggest y'all checking that out on, I guess, sometime Monday. I think it's twitch.tv/Bob Ross. We'll have that information on the.
We'll chase up a link for that.
Yeah, I can get you a link for the show notes, but
and we'll be out before Monday. So
yeah, so it was fun. So
interesting.
Well, we did a little foreshadowing there. Tonight's topic was gonna be about the Olympics. Woohoo! It had dawned on me about a couple weeks ago. I mean, it was in the back of my mind. I knew it was coming. The Olympics were coming, and I remembered thinking, why is there no celebration? Why is there no attention done in the comics for events such as this? And I remember, I don't know if Les will remember this, but I think Marvel had put out a Winter Olympics treasury, and for those who don't know what a treasury is, it's just a gigantic comic. I mean, it's even bigger than a magazine. I don't remember what the dimensions are. Do you, Les?
I think they were like 11 by 17 or bigger.
That sounds about right. They did one of Hulk and Spider-Man at the Winter Olympics and having to battle Mole Man, if I'm not mistaken. And by no means am I talking about doing something like that. There's no attention from the comic world of something like this or any other kind of event like World Cup or something like that. We get stuff such as elections, like currently there is a Vote Loki miniseries and stuff like that, but I mean, not even a variant cover of like doing some like the different nations athletes, and then maybe a superhero or a character that originated from that country or something. You know, we don't even get a variant cover, and it just
seems like a lost opportunity, doesn't it?
yeah. I just don't. Am I the only one who thinks? Well, obviously you said it's a missed opportunity, so what's your thoughts, guys? Do you think that they've looked at this and said, hey, this is not something we would want to get in, or do they even think of it at all?
Well, I'll jump in with a slightly cynical outlook because that's kind of what I do around here.
Mm-hmm.
My guess, right off the bat, just the first thing that pops into my head is licensing. To do it, more than likely they would have to pay the Olympic Committee a crap ton of money.
Well, that's possible, true.
And which is why you don't see like Super Bowl. In fact, we could get in trouble just for saying Super Bowl on this show. I don't think we will. As long as y'all don't tell anybody that we said Super Bowl, we're probably good. But the word.
And yet you go on.
I keep saying it over and over again, don't I? I just noticed that. But yeah, I mean, the NFL has a copyright on the term Super Bowl. And so even when you see all of like the grocery store ads and Walmart and Sam's Club and all of them talking about Super Bowl parties, they don't call them Super Bowl parties.
They call it the big game.
They call it the big game.
Yep.
Because if they call it Super Bowl, they have to give the NFL a bunch of money. And I suspect the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, probably is the same way to an extent. I mean, NBC pays them an ungodly amount of money to lock up TV rights for the Olympics for years to come, for decades to come. I think they're bought up through like 2032 or something. It's ridiculous. And the only other places you see the Olympic stuff, I mean, the name and the rings and everything else, is on commercials for the companies, the products that have paid them a ton of money.
Yeah, the sponsors.
And they're paying into that NBC/Olympics partnership thing. And so everybody's getting a shitload of money out of the deal when they do that. And so I suspect that Marvel and DC, because probably none of the other publishers out there could even consider affording this.
True.
Don't want to fork over that kind of cash to do it. That's my guess. That's at least first thing that pops into my head.
It's a valid point, though.
And I agree. I know that there are publishers that have done comics for Super Bowls, for baseball, even pro wrestling. Yet the Olympics just seems like it's off limits. The only comic that comes to my mind is like the Hanna-Barbera comics with
The Laugh Olympics.
yes.
Yeah, that's a different animal, no pun intended.
Also, when
And
was the last time they did that?
About 30 something years ago.
now they did come out with comics post Olympics to uh, cheer something on, such as the 1980 Olympic hockey team, the U.S. hockey team,
The Miracle on Ice.
the Miracle on, and I think they even did one for the 60s hockey team. And that was just done as a celebration, and it was a single issue. But the other sports, we don't cover. I'm saying we, as in the United States. I'm not sure if other countries do Olympic comic books. So, I can't speak there, but I know that the U.S., as a rule, does not. I think it's very viable to say that it is going to cost you arm, leg, and probably the other body parts to attempt to corral that and uh, put something forward.
And I guess something else to think about would be the publishers are so busy thinking about what they're trying to do. I mean, with events, story arcs, and crossovers and all that kind of stuff that I guess there's a timing issue too. They just hey they're more focused on that, and maybe there's a possibility that this would something like this wouldn't sell, especially if they're going to be forking over a nice check to the IOC. They may feel that they wouldn't recoup the cost. I don't know. It just
I think that's a legitimate concern too. I mean,
there may not be the interest, and hey,
right.
I don't know.
Well, and it's dangerous to. I'm going to dance on a line here.
Ooh.
You, a lot. I'm not going to say all of the people who are interested in comics because that's crazy. Because I'm an exception. But a lot of their prime audience, a lot of their normal mainstay audience in comics, not that interested in sports in general, which is a generalization. I grant you. And like I said, I am an exception because I like some sports. I like sports just fine, But so but that even that generalization makes it iffy, I mean, as to whether they're gonna sell, I don't know, 30,000 copies of something, and I mean, and can they afford to, on a 30,000 copy run, can they afford to bump up the price enough to make up what they're paying the Olympic Committee to use the Olympics? Probably not, because that's probably a chunk. And so you're looking at what ordinarily would be a $4 book being an $8 book, and that probably still doesn't cover the cost, So I can see why they don't. It's just for that.
Yeah.
I also see that it's such a fast event in the respect that it's, 2 weeks and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
How can you even attempt to bring it to the forefront? How can you make people excited about it if by the time you put it out, it's over? Even if you try to print it prior to, it's not going to have the same thrill as the events going on at that time.
Yeah, there's no way you can have a resolution to anything related directly to the Olympics because you don't have time to react.
True.
Yeah, it's just not there. You're either doing it as a prelude to the Olympics or afterwards, and you have to be careful with how directly things can affect what's going on with the Olympics because you can't know what's going on. because you're doing it 2 months ahead of time, at least.
Okay. So
If we want to segue a bit,
okay.
Les actually made kind of an offhand comment that might be interesting to play with.
Okay.
3D ears.
3D ears, totally the 3D ears thing. No, it was, you talked about how we don't cover or at least televise a lot of the Olympic sports in this country, which makes me wonder, is there any international addressing of this sort of thing? Are there comics that have something to do with the Olympics in other countries in the world, like in Europe or in Japan or any other major comics markets that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head?
Right.
I don't know if any of us know the answer to that either.
Yeah, I don't think we know the answer to that. I know we don't know the answer to that, but I would venture to say no for the same reasons why it's not done here, or why we assume it's not being done here, and it comes back to the. I was about to say the dollar, but it's not going to be the dollar in all the other nations. But
Couple of
yeah, well, but it's compensation. Let's use that word for the use of licensing compensation. Let's just say that. It just
Yeah,
I don't.
it seems to me that there are other ways that those publishers can sort of address those sports when it comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, the brutally obvious one would be soccer or football for those of you who are not in this country, which is a lot like head and shoulders more popular in Europe than it is here.
Right.
So it's a much bigger, it's much more part of the way of life. I mean, it's as big there as like baseball and American football are here. So maybe there's some crossover there, but it seems to me like it would be easier to go other ways than to do it with the Olympics. It would be easier to go World Cup, perhaps.
Yeah.
It might be easier to go a little more the more localized leagues that might not want quite so much money for that sort of thing. I don't know. It just seems like it would be easier to do that, specifically with soccer, especially. Other of the sports might have different ways, different avenues to approach than that.
Yeah, I agree. It just kind of I kind of find it funny when as I previously mentioned, there is a Loki miniseries going on right now, and I'm like, how popular can this book be outside of this country?
How popular is Loki outside of this country?
Well, good point.
I mean, beyond, not to profile too much, but beyond Norway, I mean, who knows? Beyond Scandinavia, it could be really popular there, but that doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to get all the jokes.
Yeah, it just, but I mean, picking up a book where Loki is running for political office, I'm not. You see where I'm getting at. I don't see. Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
Why vote for the lesser evil? Not an original joke, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. If they're presenting Loki as running for an office for a U.S. position, then it has no draw for anybody outside the U.S. If he's running for king of the world, other nations may sit up and take notice. Otherwise, if they want comics, then they can just watch our presidential run and not have to worry about Loki or anybody else. We'll give them enough laughs as it is.
Seems to me like there's more groaning than laughing going on in this country.
Yes, that's true too. I agree.
And that's about as political as I will get.
Yeah. But y'all see where I'm coming from. I don't know, maybe just the scope is more from a publisher being maybe a little bit more narrow because, and I guess since we can't see the numbers and see how well these books, whether they're bigger or smaller publishers, how well they do outside the country. Maybe the focus has to be taking, doing stories that will appeal to us as opposed to someone in Europe or, y'all see where I'm kind of getting at. I hope. I hope I'm not sound like hope I sound like a babbling idiot here.
Well, and another angle on this is just, I mean, let's take the Olympics out of it. Let's just talk sports stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I would be concerned if it was me, if I was a publisher, if I was in, I don't know, Dan DiDio's position. He's still in DC, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Thought so. I just wanted to make sure. But if I was in his position, I would be a little hesitant to focus a book, even for just like a 6-issue arc, on sports, because it's kind of hard to translate sports into the kind of story that works in a novelized type form like that. I mean, sports books tend to be more anecdotal or historical in nature. Actual like stories don't always. I mean, yes, there are some exceptions. There are some really good ones, but like movies. I mean, how many really good sports movies are there that are really based on the sport itself? I mean, the one that pops into my head is Field of Dreams, which actually that's not the first one that pops into my head, but it's the clean one. It, it's a really important baseball movie, but it's not really about the baseball. The baseball is just kind of a tool. If you're not familiar with Field of Dreams, it's actually a good movie. Go watch it. But baseball is a big part of the movie, but it's not kind of the focus. It's a movie about a relationship, and it's got some other fun takes. So, but I mean, what other awesome sports movies are there? I mean, I don't know. It just seems to me like it doesn't translate all that well into like a movie or like an extended graphic format or even a novel format.
What I'm thinking of is 8 Men Out,
Yeah.
because that dealt with baseball and gambling, how the two were intertwined, and how it caused the downfall of so many players. I thought it was a very intriguing movie to start.
Right, and that's a really, really interesting story from a historical perspective as well.
Right.
But yeah, ultimately, that's a story about basically making mistakes and trusting people when you shouldn't, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
It's more about people than it is about baseball. Baseball is, and it just is a really cool backdrop for it, and how historically accurate that movie is probably debatable, but it is a cool movie. It is a really good movie.
As far as comics go, sports and comics doesn't translate to me because the excitement that you have to watch a sporting event and then read it in a comic book, it just does not translate. And there's where I have the problem with it. If it could translate and keep you enthralled about what happens, then I'm in. Sports movies, like you said, Mike, are character driven, whether it be Trouble with the Curve or Sandlot, and I'm just thinking of baseball movies at this time.
Bad News
But
Bears,
those are all
Major League.
yes, they're all character driven. Yet, if you tried to take any one of those movies and put it in print, it's not going to work. Because to me, I want the thrill of seeing it happen and just be so wrapped up in it. It's like watching a Rangers baseball game, and then you put it in to comic book form, and it just doesn't quite give me the thrill, because as I'm watching a game, I'm watching a sporting event at the Olympics or anywhere else, I'm trying to think as the participants do. And that's where I get deeper into the viewing. Like I said earlier, watching wrestling to me is so much fun because you try to anticipate what each one of the guys does, and you can't do that in the printed word.
Right. It's a lot more difficult. And yeah, a lot of it is that time frame. I mean, you're doing it within a certain limited time frame. And you're also a lot of times looking at it, whether you recognize it or not, you're looking at it from a strategic point of view. You're watching, like say, with the wrestling match, you're trying to pace out each wrestler's moves and how they're gonna how he's gonna take them down this time. And that's a whole lot easier to do in real time than it is in a novelized form and in a describing it on a page. It's like I say, it's doable, but it's harder to make that time adjustment because it takes longer to read the paragraph than it does for wrestler number one to get wrestler number two in a headlock. And that's I think that's a lot of it. And it's also in terms of like a comics situation, you're in a comic book. I mean, even if it's like a graphic novel format where you've got a couple hundred pages of comics to deal with, you're still really only seeing the highlights. And it's really hard to get into it from that strategic point of view, just looking at the highlights. I mean, it's easier, like, I mean, Civil War buffs will tell you you can do it, but they're also the guys who are going out there and dressing up and doing the mock battles and taking hours to do it. And that gives a different feel than just talking about battle one, battle two, battle three, and how that all goes. You know, I feel like I'm rambling at this point, and nobody argues.
No, I'm just soaking it in.
I think it's agreement, not just looking to pick a fight here. I think we're in agreement with you.
Yeah.
Which always makes me nervous, but anyway.
Dun-dun-dun. I really don't have anything else to add.
Wow, I feel like
Come on, Thomas, we didn't scare you off, I'm sure.
I feel like I shut the thing down now. Jeez.
Now, I will say this. DC, back in the 60s, had a series that I love sports to start. And they did a series called Strange Sports Stories. They had a scientific twist or science fiction twist to each of the stories, and I thought it was fascinating.
See, that does sound cool.
You know, how does a team of gorillas pound out one run in the first inning, two in the second, and end up with 9 in the ninth inning to win? You're at a point where you're going, okay, how does a human team defeat these guys? And it is found out. So to me, it was always a little mystery in each of the issues, and usually you got 2 stories per issue. So it was interesting to try to figure out what they were doing. And to me, that's where you get the sports in comics. You make up your own stuff.
Right. It becomes part of the story, not the entire story.
Exactly.
And a parallel, this is a little unrelated, but a parallel to something that sounds similar to what you're talking about is the How-Toons series over the last few years, which is basically it's a brother and sister who are like teenagers, like young teenagers, like 13 and 10 or something like that, who get put, their parents, or they do something and they get put in these weird situations and they have to kind of use what they know about science to get out of them, to like get themselves back to safety. And so it actually goes into some detail about the science that they use. And so it's kind of a cool little educational tool while still being a pretty entertaining comic. Like I said, slight tangent, but kind of a similar concept.
I agree. Yeah, I enjoy how-tos. I think that's a fun read.
Yeah.
Because you do learn as you read, and even as old as I am, I learned something from it.
And learning is fun.
And knowing is half the battle.
That's right. And we've lost less.
And one if by land, two if by sea. Hey, don't laugh. I was there.
Well, and if there was 3?
3 on a match. It's not good.
Okay.
And 4 on the floor.
And a 5th under the seat.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Pretty good conversation. I kind of enjoyed this. Any parting shots before we wrap things up and get into our weekly picks?
I'm good, thanks.
No, I think I've BS'd enough in this one.
Okay, yay. Yay BSing. Okay, on that note, we will take a quick break and be back with weekly picks. And we're back. It is time for our weekly picks, and leading off is Mikey.
Yeah, I'm leading off. And I'm going to go with a Valiant book for this one. Let's go with Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. Issue 10 is coming out this week. And this is actually the end of an arc in which Jalad has had just a hell of a time because he has been locked up in this labyrinth type thing for several issues now. And this is, like I said, this is supposed to be the end of the arc, and it ought to be a whole lot of fun given the end of the last issue. So it's definitely, this is, I don't want to call it dark, but Jalad is a very intense guy. He's a very intense character, and so there's very little humor in these books, but they're really well done anyway. I mean, there's bits and pieces, but because it's Valiant and it's kind of what they do to an extent. But this is definitely one of their more serious titles, but it's all the more fun anyway. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I like him. I like him and Colin together. And if anybody's reading Ninjak, the latest issue has the two of them together, and they seem to work well together. I mean, there's kind of a respect. I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah, I could see that being fun too. I haven't read that one, but I can see it being fun because Colin does get a little snarky at times.
Oh yeah,
and Jalad doesn't have a whole lot of patience for that, and yeah, I bet that's fun.
I would love to see a book with just the two of them. That would be a fun book.
Yeah.
You know, we'll probably get Unity back at some point, and of course they will be there. But a duo book would be awesome.
Yeah, another fun one in that vein that not too long ago, the Bloodshot Reborn title. Ninjak made a kind of a cameo appearance there, and it was this very similar dynamic because Bloodshot is again another very intense, very serious guy.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yep, cool.
Valiant's kicking ass.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Webster.
I'm going to give you Popeye Classics by IDW Publishing. This is a collection, the issues are collections of Bud Sangendorf's great creation, Popeye, and you've got this, in this magazine, you've got 5 vintage features with Popeye, Olive, Sweet Pea, Wimpy, and others. The thing I enjoy about, 2 things I enjoy about this are, one, it's all ages, so kids can read this and understand plus giggle at what's going on. And second is the fact that it is like a one and done book. You don't have to wait for the next issue to see whatever happened to what was going on. It's just a family book, and it's fun to read. It's a lot of fun to read.
It is a fun read, and that's part of Yo Books too, if I'm not mistaken, who also help do the was it Weird Love and the Weird Horror books for IDW. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
yeah, Yo Books has been it's so cool that they're bringing back the old material to a new audience or an audience who may have seen it a long, long time ago and can see it again. I applaud them for doing that.
Yep, they're doing great work.
I do too. For them to step up like that, it's really good.
Awesome.
How about you, Thomas?
All right. Well, my first pick is from Image Comics, and it's called Demonic. It's a brand new series. It's written by Christopher Sabella, and with art by Nico Walter and Dan Brown. And it's about a New York detective who apparently makes a bargain to bargain with the devil or a demon, and so now he's battling the criminal elements with obviously a demon in him or some kind of demonic powers or abilities or something like that. It sounds interesting. I mean, it's not something that we haven't seen before, but I like Sabella's writing, so I would definitely give this a shot.
Yep, I'll check it out too. It'll be interesting.
It kind of sounds like Faust, Spawn, and maybe even the Spectre kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
There's a crowd I want to run with. Holy cow.
Woohoo! Okay, Mikey, what's number 2?
Oh, I'm up again. Cool. All right. My second pick is an Image book also, and it's actually one I've talked about probably a lot. But I Hate Fairyland, number 8 is coming out this week, and again, this is just too much fun. Quick synopsis: Gertrude is an 8-year-old girl who gets taken into Fairyland and can't quite find her way out again, and is stuck there for a ridiculous and painful amount of time. So she is still trying to find her way out, and the synopsis for this one is fun because let's just say that there's some sort of fighting tournament involved, and just the total and complete joy of an 8-year-old girl, like in a gladiatorial pit. I just how can you not pick this up? Come on, and don't get too hung up on it being an 8-year-old girl. This is not a kid's book. This is not an all ages book. This is definitely a grown up book. It is a hilarious grown up book, but it is definitely, do not show this to your kids.
Oh yeah, especially when with the variant cover, it's not called I Hate Fairyland. It's called F Fairyland, and you can figure out what the F is standing for. So
I think he means fuck.
Okay.
Alrighty.
It's a good book. It's so warped that it's that much funnier, and I applaud them because they have really stepped outside the boundary to bring you this one.
Yeah.
And of course, if you can, go pick up the trade of the first 5. I think it's 5 issues.
I believe it is 5 issues. Yes, it is. It is a ton of fun.
Wes, what you got?
Well, we kind of touched on this in topic earlier. My second choice is from American mythology. It's the title The Three Stooges, Red, White, and Stooge.
Woohoo!
This is interesting because they give you the story of Moeller and Curly running for the highest office in the land. They have to navigate the political streams, and one of them, according to the write-up, they say will become the new POTUS or in this case, doofus.
Cute. Very cute.
You cast your vote by purchasing the cover featuring your favorite Stooge, and at the back of the magazine, they will show you which one wins. And I think that's probably from the pre-orders. But I think it's kind of interesting to not wait for the next issue to find out who won, like the Batman story Death in the Family. But this one is kind of fun to have the results right there. It's brought to you by S.A. Check, Brandon Frame, and Brian Frame. So, yes, go out and check this. This should be fun.
Oh, really? I did not know the Frame brothers were involved. That's cool.
Yes. They list them as the cover artists, but I'm sure that they may have something inside also.
Okay, Les, we're going to put you in the hot seat. Who's going to win it?
Who's going to win it? Wow. Let's see. I've got Mo, Larry, and Curly to choose from. I'm going to say Joe DeRita. How's that?
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
So you're non-committal, huh?
At this time, I'm non-committal. I gotta say, it's going to be Curly.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
But it would be fun to see what the numbers are too.
Totally.
Cool. Very cool. My final pick is from Boom Studios. It's another number one called The Backstagers, written by James Tynion, who also brought us The Woods and also wrote Talon for DC. And the art's done by Ryan Tsai. And the premise is about a boy who is transferred to a all-boys school, and he joins the stage crew and just figures, hey, this is just going to be doing this, that, and the other behind-the-scenes type stuff. But he finds out from the other stagehands that there is a door that leads to other worlds. So that kind of got my attention. It sounds like it might be a little fun. So yeah, and it's Tynan. He's pretty good about going to other worlds and having some interesting adventures there. So I would definitely want to check that out.
Sounds pretty cool.
It does.
Okay, before we close things out in our usual shout-outs, any other special mentions or announcements or anything like that?
Not this week.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. Thanks, though.
Okay. I want to do a special shout-out to PurrKayla, our honorary hero of the fellowship. We're thinking of you, girl, and we're gonna have you on. We're gonna have you on real soon. We just need to work out the logistics. Okay. Shout outs. Da-da-da-da. Obviously, the first one we go to is you, the listener. Thank you very much for the support and the downloads. We do appreciate it. Manny the Martyr for our awesome music. And to hashtag Potter and Family, the wonderful family of other podcasts who post on Twitter and have been so gracious enough to spread the word of the fellowship out there in Twitterverse. Thank y'all very much. It's very much appreciated. And Mikey and I are doing our best to return that love. And some days I'm good, some days I'm bad, but I'm working on it. So.
Yep, there's a lot of cool shows out there. That just search them up. Hashtag Potter and Family on Twitter. I mean, dozens, if not hundreds, of cool podcasts. There's bound to be at least one, if not several, that will strike your fancy. So check them out.
Yeah, agreed. And we always value your feedback. What do you think about today's podcast? Was there something that we might have missed or something that we may have went over too quickly? What's your thoughts and opinions?
Yeah,
We all,
what's your favorite sports related comic book?
we always want to hear from you. So ways you can do that is you can go to our website www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and there is a contact us page. You can send us a message through there, or you can send us a message at email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. We are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, and as I've already mentioned, we are on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Mike has his own personal Twitter page at Mikey Geek, and mine is at TomTCGeek. So if you'd like to, please follow us, and we'll do our best to keep you entertained.
Woohoo! We'll try. Gosh.
Not trying to put any pressure on anybody.
Oh man, now I gotta be funny. God.
Any final thoughts before we sign off, guys?
No. If you're listening to us though, thank you for downloading us. And if you get a chance, throw a rating up there on whatever you're listening to us on, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, hopefully more soon if I can get off my butt and get to work on that. Ratings are good, reviews are better.
Right.
However that works for your particular podcast listening app of choice. Just throw something out there. Maybe even like tell a friend or something.
Definitely.
About us. Get them to hook us up and download us and have a listen. Could be fun.
Please do.
Yes, reviews and ratings would be much appreciated, guys. Once again, thank y'all for listening. Thank you for downloading. It's much appreciated, and we love you guys. So until next time, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,